San Antonio Sports Star, live from Dallas Cowboys training camp, is brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds and sponsored in part by Southern Recipe Pork Rinds, Jim Beam, and AARP on South Texas home of the Dallas Cowboys. 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's another day that ends in Y, and that means some Cowboys drama. That's why we love covering the Dallas Cowboys. We get to do it from the radio station.
Yeah.
But we got a guy that gets to do it every single day right here.
Jon Machota from The Athletic joining us here on The Blitz. If you're watching on YouTube, the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel, no, this isn't a replay of last year. It's just the exact same outfit.
You had to
from
do
the
that
hat.
to him, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, right? I mean,
my brand.
Yes. Yeah, he's sponsored by Nike.
Yeah.
Or he's working on it.
Yeah.
He's working on it.
Yeah.
And,
About the only thing different I got this year is I recently started doing the Invisalign thing. I should probably try to get a sponsorship there. They're all over the place. I got some of those things out there on the field and all that. So.
As somebody that did Invisalign about a year ago,
Okay.
I wish there was a sponsorship deal for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably should have looked into that, but it's all right.
Yeah, it's all good. And this Parsons news has screwed up your laundry day, huh?
It absolutely has. You know, if I'm being completely honest, though, I love this stuff.
Sure.
Like, obviously, I don't cover this team to cover Super Bowls. I cover this team because I love the drama. Like, and I know that's not for everybody, and that's fine. But I love that it just keeps you on your toes. I don't think that this is a great job that I have if you have a big family and you got to be around the house all the time and you can't kind of be on the go because there's always random stuff that happens. But with that being said, this post from Micah Parsons, even from my perspective, it's one of the craziest things I've seen covering the team. And that's with the fact that being completely transparent here. So, you know, we go to that media party last night and I had some stuff to write still. So when I got back to my hotel room, I wrote a couple of things because I was like, oh, I'm going to sleep in. And so I had some people reaching out to me because most of the people, like NFL side of people, are on the East Coast. And it was like early this morning, and my colleague Diana Rossini was like, you know, wanted to talk to me about this Micah Parsons stuff and kind of hear my side of what I've been hearing and whatever. And she wanted to put out this report about that, you know, things are getting on the Micah side. Like they're ready to, you know, go in and maybe request a trade. And I'm just like, I think we should report on it. Absolutely. Because she has very good sources on this. And I was like, no, absolutely go with this. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking nobody requests a trade from the Cowboys. It just doesn't happen. Like nobody is trying to leave the Cowboys. Like, especially not Micah Parsons. Like Micah Parsons' brand, how media savvy he is. Like he loves the attention. He loves all of that. So I was just like, yeah, that'll be like absolute emergency that he would. And then for him to post it a few hours after we posted the story, I was like, wow, like it really has gotten to that level. That surprised me. I didn't expect it to be, you know, as detailed as it was and all that. And then obviously saying at the end that he requested the trade personally with Stephen Jones. So pretty fascinating.
Well, it is fascinating, John, but, you know, Jason and I were talking about this, and it doesn't change anything, though, does it? I mean, it really doesn't change anything.
It's funny. I was just doing a TV head out there, and Stephen Jones is doing his normal walk around the field, and he did not seem like somebody that was very concerned. Like I'm sure a lot of Cowboys fans are right now.
Absolutely,
I mean, he's a star player, you know. You take Micah Parsons away from the defense, and it'd probably be a solid defense, but it doesn't have a chance to be the great defense that it does when you have a guy like Micah Parsons. But no, from the team side, I don't sense that type of an angst. But what I'm interested in is the next time Jerry Jones talks, because Jerry Jones, you know, felt like there was a deal on the table that, you know, that they talked it out in March and that it was about to be done. And then all of a sudden it fell through. And I think that's contributed a little bit to why there isn't a dialogue back and forth. I think obviously that's contributed to this stuff back in early April at the owners' meetings when Jerry first started saying how he didn't know David Mulligetta, you know, didn't know his name and stuff. And looking back on it now, you know, that was all by design. Jerry wanted to get that stuff out there. He was going to take his shot at, hey, I've done plenty of contracts with players. Like, I don't necessarily need the agent to be involved, but in these cases, like David Mulligetta, Dak's case with Todd France, like, yeah, they're not going to let their client sign that without looking it over every, you know, T that's crossed, every I that's dotted, and that's clearly the case here. So, but to your point, though, no, nothing really hasn't. I mean, he's under contract for this season. If they wanted to, they could franchise tag him the next two. So it would be Micah willing to not play football. I find that hard to believe. I'm just watching these practices, and while I'm watching the play on the field, it's hard for me not to notice that every day that goes by, I feel like the body language of Micah is like, I'm trying to be a good teammate here, guys, but just standing on by this sled is just not enough anymore. I need to get out there. I need to be a part of this. I need to have my helmet on. I need to be hitting, and I can tell it's wearing on him. So I think that probably factors into what we saw this morning too.
Jon Machota from The Athletic joining us here on the Blitz on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. He's requested it. Can't really say demanded it, but the Cowboys certainly don't have to oblige, right? And so what does this request, this tweet from Micah ultimately accomplish in your mind?
It's the next piece of leverage I feel like Micah has on his side to put that out there to try and get some pressure on the Cowboys to make the phone call to David Mulligetta. And when I mean the Cowboys, there are people in the Cowboys organization that have talked to David, but Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones, I think that's what he's like. You're kind of sitting there like, what card do I have left to play right now? Things are appearing like Cowboys might be fine. Let's be honest. Jerry Jones might be fine with me sitting this whole thing out and doing like the CeeDee Lamb type thing where like it doesn't get done until they get back. And he wants to be out here, new defensive coordinator, new teammates, wants to show the leadership element of it. And he probably doesn't want it to drag out much longer, but there's no movement at all. So I think it's like one of those like, well, he feels like this is an emergency. I got to try and do something. This is the card I have to play. Let me play this one and see where it goes from here. But I don't know, just being around Jerry out here, I don't get the sense that that's going to really move him very much. I say that there is this aspect. I don't know if you guys have talked about it. I don't expect this to happen, but how do you know that there isn't some team that comes out of nowhere that just offers you something crazy? Right. We're just like, we don't want to trade him, but really? Let's at least listen to I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's a very, very, very highly unlikely scenario. But when I try and think of every parameter, like when we're up there with Kyrie Elam's talking, and I'm seeing this, reading this tweet, and I'm just like, I'm trying to go through my head, like, okay, how many different angles am I going to be writing about this? And so I guess you can't completely shut any door. So I think that would be the only other one, but I just can't see a way where they would trade him. I just can't see that.
Well, I don't see Micah wanting to be traded for all the things you just said. I mean, he's on the most iconic franchise there is in the NFL. He gets a lot of attention and all of that. I want to ask you this question because we had Stephen Jones on the show, I think Tuesday. And I asked him the question, what he meant by Micah has to want to get paid. He wouldn't answer that question. What do you think he meant by that?
I think he meant the fact of, we've offered, it's not like we're sitting here saying, well, we don't want to pay you. I think that's what he meant is like, well, we made an offer. He's got to want to, kind of, I guess, meet them. I think that he probably, if he could do it over, probably wouldn't have said that. I think it's one of those things where, Steven's very, obviously, you guys know, friendly with the media and stuff like that. And I think sometimes you might say something a little too much where you're probably like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But at the same time, you're doing a bunch of interviews out here. He's just naturally, I mean, you guys see like last night, it's not like, we talk about this a little bit. It's not like they're racing to get out of there. It's not like they're like, okay, let's talk to the media for 10, 15 minutes and like, let's get out of there. And none of it's on the record. Like they genuinely enjoy being around the media. And so I think when you're like that, I just know just from my job, there's definitely things that I've written or said. I'm like, I wish I wouldn't have said it that way. That's kind of, that's not really fair or whatever. And I think that's probably more what it was. Because I don't think he really meant that. It's not like Micah doesn't want to get paid. He obviously wants to get paid.
Now, based on even last night, on Tuesday, when he was on with us, just being around him, he's out for his walk right now. Right. And do you think he was surprised this morning when Micah apparently personally requested a trade from Stephen Jones?
I think so. And I think that there's probably levels to it. I think the initial Micah asking him was probably a surprise, but then also, I mean, that's pretty detailed, the message he put up there. That's not the same as Terry McLaurin or Myles Garrett. There's some real detail in there about the contract stuff and the contract negotiations and going back and forth and things like that. So he certainly wanted to get more off his chest than just tweeting, I've requested a trade from the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, he put some, so I think that there's probably levels to where there's probably some surprise, like, whoa, okay. So we'll see where it goes from there. But I think Steven can stay pretty even keel with this stuff. Jerry's the one I really want, because Jerry's the one that I get the sense was the most frustrated with the deal not getting done back in March when he thought that they had the parameters structured. And hey, I'll just be honest, like I wouldn't do any deal like that without an agent either. I think you'd be foolish not to have a representative like that. So it's hard to hate on Micah for being like, yeah, I agree to, okay. Yeah, just make sure it's cool. The agent looks it over and stuff like that, and then we're good. And then if my agent says, hey, no, this is this right here, like for me, like I always go back to I wonder if the guarantees on it, because you say like when these contracts come out, you say to me like I'll give you a 4-year, $120 million deal. Yeah, it sounds great, let's do it. But then you get in the fine print, it's like, well, if you get this injury, we can get rid of you after year 2, and you're just like, oh, so this is really only a 2-year deal. And I don't know that to be the case, and I don't know exactly what their contract talks were. But those are the little things that I know for me personally, if I didn't have an agent, I'd be like, yeah, no, they said 4 for 120. I'm taking that. That's amazing. Let's do that. But really it could be like 2 for 60 or something, or 2 for 40.
Or there's that hidden thing in there that Trayvon Diggs had, right, that he didn't know about,
well,
which I find hard to believe,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
But court of public opinion, obviously, John, and you deal with this too. Everybody seems to be on the side of the player in every one of these, whether it was Dak or CD or now Micah. Why do you think that is?
29 years of not going to a Super Bowl.
Okay.
I really do think that that's the biggest one, because I just look at it from the other. I don't know if Philadelphia is a good city to compare to. So my beliefs are like I just think clearly right now in football, Howie Roseman's the best GM in football. I feel like he's bought himself some leeway that if there was some disagreements with players, you'd probably be like, I think Howie's kind of cooking right now. Let's go with this. I think you give him the benefit of the doubt. So I do think the lack of winning big is probably, and then just that it's been so many years where we've been coming out here and there's just these holdouts, whether it be, going back to Dez, Zeke, Dak, obviously Zach Martin and all that, and then CD last year. So I think that fans are kind of frustrated with that. We're like, hey, can we get out to a camp where just everybody's out there, especially with a new coaching staff? Like, hey, it'd be great if everybody can be out here. We just hit the ground running, But I just want to leave a little wiggle room, because I could say, hey, if they were coming off of that they just won the Super Bowl, I think you could have a little bit like, hey, just get back in there, Micah. Everything's going good, whatever. But when you haven't won, and Jerry obviously is the face of it, that it's like, well, he's the one that people are going to point to and blame. And so that doesn't surprise me at all.
And then you look at like all the examples you just gave. Ultimately, they all got it done.
Yeah.
Around the same dollar that everybody thought it was going to get done.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, with every team, you talk to any agent, a deal will get done when the team wants it to get done. And it could be the timing of when a bonus needs to be paid or whatever. And that's something that none of us really know what their pay schedule looks like for everybody. And when the team's ready, it gets done. It just always seems like, the Cowboys want this drama to go with it. I mean, hell, I think they've let Sports Center First Take get up every show out there for the last 3 weeks.
I think part of it is that at the end, see, I've been saying this for a while. Every year I feel like I cover the team. I see more and more where like you can just see Steven taking on more and more. Like I think it'll be a smooth process, handing off after Jerry to Steven running things. But at the end of the day, Jerry still is making the final decisions. It wasn't Steven just couldn't hand in the card or make the call on Zach Martin, over Johnny Manziel. Like there's like things like that. And so because of that, I will always believe that Jerry, being such a successful businessman, has won so many negotiations that this is like sport for him. This is like fun, where he's just like, what kind of money I've wagered on this? Like, you guys think that I'm nervous about this? You think that this worries me right now? I love this right now. And the fans, they don't love this because they're like, no, Jerry, I'm worried that you're about to lose our star player here. Like, what are we doing here? But I think he enjoys, to a certain extent, some of this stuff, and that's been a factor in all of this. So, yeah.
Jon Machota with The Athletic joining us here on the Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. John, where does this go from here? I mean, because obviously we know Mike is frustrated. I don't think he's going to leave. That doesn't do him any good to leave. What happens now?
I've always felt like, I know talking to you guys, I'd said I thought it'd get done right before training camp because you want to hit the ground running with this new coaching staff. I can't believe that Jerry wouldn't at least make a call to try and get a ball rolling with just how much success they want and how much they believe in Brian Schottenheimer. Why set him up year one right away without your star defensive player, and the whole new coaching staff? Because let's keep in mind, like when they hired Brian Schottenheimer, it's not like it was this hire where everyone was like, yeah, that's the one. That's obviously what you should have done, Jerry. So I feel like with Brian, there's a little bit of how Jerry was with Jason Garrett, where it's like, this is my guy, and I want to prove to you guys that this is my guy, and it's going to work. And so why would you set him up in his first year without having such an impactful player not on the field? I find it hard to believe that something's not going to happen. Now, it might not happen until we get back to Frisco, but I just can't see it being an Emmitt Smith thing where he's like not playing week 1, week 2. Like that would really surprise me because really we haven't seen that since then with Cowboys star players.
Does the tweet from Micah today change things in Jerry's mind? Like now, pissing match is just what it is. Jerry does care about optics. If they were to get a deal done this weekend, it would look like, oh, he tweeted and threatened and Jerry folded right away, which is a precedent that I'm sure Jerry doesn't want to do. So now I'm wondering, how much does this delay things?
Oh, no, it certainly could. No, you're absolutely right about that. I don't know. I think it would be entertaining for our jobs if he was more active on Twitter. Can you imagine Jerry firing back right after that? Like, oh, that's what happened? Hold on. Let me tell you what happened. So it's probably better he doesn't have, he has a social media account, but he hasn't posted anything since 2011. So not that I check it, but you just never know. Today you want to get it back going again. Yeah. This is how you build the following, Jerry. But no, that's like tomorrow. Like I'm just interested. Like I expect Micah Parsons to be out there, and as you guys have seen, I expect Jerry to be up in the tower. Mm-hmm. So are they gonna cross paths? Are they gonna talk? Are they not gonna talk? Like is Jerry gonna just keep his head down because he's angry? I mean, you really could go anywhere with it, but I will say I agree to your point that I can't see Jerry being like, all right, let's just get it done now, because he doesn't want to show that type of giving the leverage to a player, not just for Micah, but future players. Like, hey, you want to get this thing done? Say something wild on social media. Yeah. They'll cave, like he's not going to give in on that. So no, that's a really good point. That probably does definitely delay things because of that.
All right, John, let's talk a little football. What has impressed you so far, or maybe I should say who has impressed you so far out there at training camp?
Yeah, yesterday, no question to me, was George Pickens' best day. That was the George Pickens I saw out there yesterday. That's where you're like, man, him on one side, CD on the other. That is a monster. And I think for me, I knew he was a good deep ball guy, and that's obviously shown. But they're not tackling to the ground. But I think he can do more after the catch than maybe he has shown up to this point, and that'll be kind of fascinating to see because we already know CD can do that. I mean, I think that's maybe CD's greatest strength. You get the ball in his hands, he's way more physical than you think he'll be. CD to me has been the best player out here. CD is already ready. That there was no playing the Rams practice and that there's no reason why you need to see him and Dak or any of these guys. They're already where they need to be. I think just let Pickens keep growing and you're good there. Those are the ones that have stood out most to me. But defensively, I don't think there's anybody that stood out or surprised me more than Kaiir Elam. He has been getting his hands on ball, intercepting passes, looking every bit of what you would think a former first round pick was. Obviously it didn't work out in Buffalo, and I think Buffalo's a pretty good organization. So it kind of surprises me how good he has looked out here. So and then obviously you guys probably heard Donovan Ezeraku, the rookie defensive end, looks like it doesn't look like he's going to need to wait till the second year. He looks like he'll be pretty impactful right away.
Yeah, and in fact, the Pickens, he is a lot bigger than I
know.
Would be.
I know.
And now, granted, I'm a tall 5'7", but even today on the podium, he was kind of making fun of the short defensive backs and how he can take advantage of them. I was offended by that, but he's right. He is a lot bigger than when you see a height, weight, just in person.
No, there's no question. The first day I saw him that he showed up at the Star, when he ran out with his helmet on, I was like, damn, he is a legit 6'3", because the numbers get rounded up and things like that. I mean, just covering this team, with the day, it seems like Mozzie Smith's weight changes. It can be anywhere from 300 to he said 310, 315 yesterday. So I'm always kind of hesitant on that. But when I saw George Pickens the first time, I was like, oh no, he's legit 6'3", big receiver. And so the thing with him that I wonder is we've seen a little bit of it, but then where does the jump ball come in the red zone? Because I think he's really got that to his game with that size. He's going to be bigger than most DBs. And there's been some of that here, but not like it used to be out here when Dez Bryant was out here. And it kind of makes me wonder if that's coming back into the offense, particularly in the red zone. So
yeah, it's interesting because he talked about that today. You heard him, George Pickens talk. He loves the red zone.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's got a real advantage over everybody. So that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm just interested in how that's going to balance out between him and CD, because the way CD looks out there, he looks as good as I've ever seen him. And I just go back to 2 years ago when he was out there for all 17 games, and Dak's out there for all 17. that's the potential of, 17, 1,800 yards, 10, 15 touchdowns. But he could be playing even better than that. But then Pickens is obviously going to get his. I really believe that part of the Jake Ferguson deal is that he's set up to where he could really have a monster year because there's going to be somebody that has to eat on that defense. You can only take away so many people, like Kevontae Turpin. Like the passing game's there. I still would need to see some pads on to really judge if the running game's there. But that passing game can be lethal if they can just have any type of run game.
Well, and Shoddy says he's committed to the run, although I think every coach says that.
True.
But,
That's true.
But will Shoddy stay committed to the run when you look at the weapons they have in the passing game?
No, that's very true because I think of like early in games, like, heck, it could be that first game, you're on the road, Philly, you want to come out there and you're like, hey, everybody thinks we're going to pass it, hand off Javonte Williams 3 yards. And you're like, all right, well, let's run it again. Next thing you know, you're off the field and it's like your receivers are looking around like, where's the stuff we were doing? Like, how long is this going to last? And then what happens the next year? You starting to force passes the guys. Now they're dropping slants, things like that. They're like, I've seen George Pickens catch that 10 out of 10 times. Like, now you're forcing it. Next thing you know, you're down to the Eagles, and now it's going to. So it's like, you got to kind of keep the main thing. And your strength is obviously your passing game. But I just wonder if that run game will be ready to go early on. I think it's going to need time to kind of get where it goes. But if you give it time, from what I've seen out here, I think Jaden Blue's got a chance to be a really good player. Like, I think Miles Sanders, we've seen what he can be, and I think he'll be a solid player. But Jaden Blue's the one where it's like that speed that he has, pass catching ability. I think he's got the upside where you're like, I could see him being a really good running back in this league for several years. But will it be week 1 or does it take him to like week 5 or 6 until he gets that? But I think the potential is there with him.
What do you think about the offensive line? Because there have been some guys banged up, but Nate Thomas is a guy that everybody's raving about right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's looked pretty good. But for me, the problem with the Cowboys offensive line these last few years has been just, can you keep that same 5 out there? It seems like even out here, like you're just, like Tyler Smith left practice yesterday because of some knee tendonitis. And obviously you lose Tyler Guyton. It's like, can you get that 5 to stay out there? I mean, Mike McCarthy used to say this all the time, about that, the year when they won it all at the Packers. It's just how if you can have that same offensive line at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year. I mean, obviously the Eagles are a great example of that. Your chances of success are just incredible. Like, it just raised by so much because it's so hard to do. And it's interesting to me because they've had these injuries, and I don't think it's a very physical. I mean, especially the way football used to be played at training camp. It's not that crazy out there. I think Schottenheimer does a great job of taking them away from the situations where they're on the ground and those things. So, but they came into this camp where I was like, this is the best depth they've had on the offensive line in at least 2-3 years. But then now the injuries stack up, and now you're like, now you're working at Lyle Collins, So I think it's got a chance to be there, but how healthy is it?
Yeah.
Never a dull moment with the Dallas Cowboys. Jon Machota covers it all. Make sure you're following on Twitter at Jon Machota and subscribe to The Athletic. It's certainly well worth a couple of bucks for that great coverage.
Well, especially now.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
Absolutely.
John, thank you. Appreciate it very
Absolutely.
much.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, our AA Best Bail Bonds Dallas Cowboys training camp coverage from Oxnard, California.